time for The Law and You, sponsored by Gig and Jan Colo. We're joined now with Michael Gig here. Mike, good morning. Welcome back to the show.
Good morning.
Yeah. Tell us about the types of law that you practice and then your partner Chris as well.
Yeah, so I mainly handle our estate matters, estate planning, things like that. Real estate matters. Chris does most of our personal injury, workers' compensation, and Social Security.
Yeah, always fun to just kind of chat, even, during commercial breaks and, kind of rack your brain with different things. And that's kind of the fun, because we've been doing this for quite a few years now together.
It's been, I think, two and a half years now. It's hard to believe, yeah.
Seems like that, which is fun, to get an attorney's perspective. And people, of course, at home can do that as well by submitting in questions. We get all kinds of things coming in the email.
Yes.
You can do that, and then twice a week they answer the questions right here on the show. So this one comes to us. It says, I sued someone who owed me money and won the case at the magistrate hearing. How do I get my money back now?
Yeah, we hear this a lot. In fact, a lot of times the person will come to us saying they want to, when the case starts, they want to, sue this person. A lot of times they, lent them money or something like that. They want to get their money back, or they cause damages to their property or something. And these are difficult conversations sometimes, because in this case, if this was at the magistrate hearing, that jurisdiction is like $12,000 or less. So when you're dealing with money like that, while that's not a small sum of money, okay, the discussion you have to have with your client a lot of times is it's one thing, and oftentimes it can be the easiest thing to get like a judgment entered in your favor for, $6,000 or $8,000. The difficult part is actually getting the money then, because the judgment is just that. It's a piece of paper saying, hey, this person owes you money, and now you have to take further steps to, as they say, execute on that judgment. Now that can be done in several ways, but they all cost money. And so, like any case, especially when you're talking about, in the single thousands of dollars, I always tell clients, there's a cost benefit to all of it. And I say that at the beginning. Maybe try to settle it, see if they'll pay you something, negotiate something less so you can get the money without spending too much money to get it. Because if you get into this, you can do everything from, go after their personal property, any personal property they have. You can try to go after bank accounts. You can even try to go after any real estate that they own. The important thing to understand is who you sue matters. So if you sue them and they're married, so if you sue a single person but they're married, for just a normal judgment, you can't go after any property that they own with their spouse. So that can reduce a lot of things that you can go after. Even if you go after their bank account, if you find out where they have a bank account at, there's certain exceptions that you can't go over. You can't go after certain funds in their account. And some of this stuff gets expensive. And so a lot of clients get frustrated that, and I try to tell them that at the beginning, that, hey, we could win, but that's just really the first part of this whole battle. It's now getting the money, which is the difficult part. And they still complain later, well, so I have this and what do? I don't get my money. Well, no. You have to go these further steps. If they're not willing to try and do a payment plan to pay you back or something, it's a whole nother process, and it all costs money. So it's not that simple. So I try to be upfront with clients that say, listen, they owe you $5,000, $8,000, it could be $50,000, but you have to think about this stuff, because you don't want the client to come to you later and say, oh, it's going to cost this much, or it's going to take this long, because it can be a common complaint that, why don't I have my money yet? Well, it can be a long and arduous process. So clients have to think about all that stuff. Doesn't mean you still don't go after them to try and get your money, but it can be costly, and you have to think about that. Yeah,
sounds like you have to talk people off a ledge, because they're upset. It's the heat of the moment. People get a little sue happy, but how much are you spending to
And they feel, especially if it's somebody that took their money or something, didn't do work for them. Of course, you're angry, you're upset. But a lot of times, emotions when it comes to these legal matters does not help you, because the term I always use, you don't want to throw good money after bad either.
And Chris says you can't get blood out of a stone.
I say that too. You can't get blood out of a stone. And it's true, because some of these people that do this stuff, they have no assets to go after. So clients have to think about that. It doesn't mean you don't do anything, but it's something you have to think about as a factor of how far you want to go with it, how much you want to accept. So, you know, yeah, there's sometimes hard conversations with clients, but you have to think about it.
Cut your losses and move on, or
It
is
can
it
be
worth
that
the
sometimes
energy?
too.
Is it worth
Yeah.
the time, the money?
Absolutely.
Yeah, all good stuff to know. And that's why
Yeah.
it's great to consult with an attorney.
Yes.
Because like you're saying, you can't go after a married couple's assets and things like that, like things that people might not really think going into this, that,
Right.
hey, you need to be on the lookout for this before
Yes.
you just jump into this thinking we can do this. If people want to reach out to you for these types of questions, they can do that.
Yeah, call us at 946-1606 or through our website at gig-law.com.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.